Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the first video I'm putting out in 2022 and I couldn't think of a better video to put out. It's essentially going to be an opinion piece, but one that I think most of you will enjoy. I just wanted to take a little bit of time here to talk about my expectations for PlayStation over the course of the next year. And I think that many of us are feeling very good about the way 2022 is going to go down, right? I think that when it comes to PlayStation, people are feeling very good. And I want to just kind of go down a list of some things and talk about, things that we know for a fact are coming, the things I'm most excited about, but also talk about some other things that could end up happening throughout 2022, and again, just kind of give my general expectation, because 2021, let's face it, it was a solid year for PlayStation, but it wasn't the strongest. And I think that even the most hardcore PlayStation fan could agree with that. I mean, look, I enjoyed Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, right? Like, I put 115 hours into that. I loved Returnal. I put over 100 hours into that. I really enjoyed Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, but generally speaking, I think that most people look at 2021, it's the first year of a new console launch, which traditionally is a little bit slower. There's, usually less going on, and it's just not as excitement. It's a little bit tame. I think that PlayStation in 2021 really fits that, but that's not to say that they didn't have a very strong year. I only mentioned a couple of games, but there are certainly more PlayStation titles that were released than what I just listed. So I don't want to downplay 2021, but I just can't help but think that when you look at this upcoming year for PlayStation, even just what we know about now, not talking about any new announcements or new game reveals, I feel like 2022 is going to kind of stomp 2021, right? I think that we can all kind of agree with that, at least to some extent. So the first thing I want to start out with are the games that we know are coming in 2022 for PlayStation, right? So from Sony's first party, the three biggest games that immediately come to mind are Horizon Forbidden West, Gran Turismo 7, and God of War Ragnarok. And I don't feel like there's really much to be said about these three titles, other than these three titles are exactly why I think automatically 2022 looks like a much better year than 2021, because we're going to be starting off in February with Horizon Forbidden West. And look, the game's not out yet. I don't know how it's going to review. I don't know what fans are going to be saying about it. But I feel pretty confident in saying that it's going to easily be one of the best games that comes out in 2022, and it could very well end up being one of the games of the generation, one of the games that actually defines the generation. And I know that's crazy because it is going to be cross-gen, but it just looks that good. I feel like everything I just said also applies to God of War Ragnarok. Now, obviously, GT7 is a different type of game. It's a racing game. It's not really comparable to God of War and Horizon, but in terms of quality and how excited the PlayStation fan base is going to be for GT7, I think it is comparable. So you take these three games, if this is all PlayStation fans got throughout the entirety of 2022, look, I'm just going to be honest here, I think that PlayStation fans would feel pretty good about that. But luckily, that's not the only thing that PlayStation has lined up for 2022. So we are getting in January the Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection. And, this is not really a big release. It's just kind of something that's extra, right? Like, there are going to be a lot of Uncharted fans who have a PS5 who are certainly going to pick this up. I have to imagine there are going to be at least a few people, right? A few people who, were lucky enough to get a PS5 and they haven't experienced these games, and they'll probably pick it up and try it out. And we also have some third-party titles as well that are set to release in 2022 for PlayStation 5. We're looking at Forspoken as of right now. Forspoken is set to release in May, and it seems like this game is a little bit more divisive than I think we were expecting. I think it's safe to say we're gonna have to see more of this game. I think that, it would be great if it could get its own state of play to kind of show it off and, just show people what the game's all about and get them feeling better about it. But nonetheless, it's going to be a big title that drops in the first half of this year for Sony. And then we also have Ghostwire Tokyo. Now, I don't know if Ghostwire Tokyo is set for the first half of 2022. It could very well end up releasing in the second half of 2022, but I think it's a game that some people forget about. It's going to be a PlayStation 5 exclusive, very similar to what we saw with Deathloop. It's going to be a year-timed exclusive as far as I'm aware, so, it's something that PlayStation 5 owners will be able to look forward to. And when it comes to indies, we are looking at Sifu, Stray, and Little Devil Inside, 3 games that I think PlayStation fans are very much looking forward to. Personally, for me, Sifu is the big highlight of those 3, and I'm sure that there will be plenty of other indie titles that are going to release first on PlayStation that I'm failing to mention. But all in all, when it comes to just the exclusivity side of things, whether they're permanent exclusives or timed exclusives, it doesn't matter. The point is that if you are a PS5 owner or even a PS4 owner, but we'll just focus on the PS5 because it's 2022. If you're a PS5 owner in 2022, you have a lot to look forward to, and there's going to be something here for you, and you're probably not just going to like it a little bit, you're probably really going to like it. Like, it will likely be one of the best things you play throughout the entirety of the year. That's how confident I'm feeling in this lineup so far. But we also have a ton of big multi-platform games as well. Obviously we have Elden Ring, and I'm sure many of you are feeling the same way I am, which, is feeling not necessarily annoyed, but maybe a little bit anxiety, because it's like, hey, Horizon Forbidden West is releasing on February 18th, and then literally 7 days later, we have Elden Ring releasing on the 25th. How am I supposed to manage this, right? I mean, it's a problem, maybe a good problem to have, but still, I'm sure I'm not the only one who's feeling that way. Other big games that fans are looking forward to, you have Dying Light 2, which is coming out in early February. I mean, there's a common theme here, that being that February 2022 is ridiculously stacked. Hogwarts Legacy, as of right now, it's apparently targeting 2022. This is a big game that I know many PlayStation fans are looking forward to. We have the Gotham Knights. We have Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin. I think that people are certainly looking forward to that game for maybe different reasons. But all in all, it's looking like there's going to be quite a few big, multi-platform titles that release for PlayStation 5. But something else I do want to mention that I think some people forget about, and I think it's understandable why they would forget about it, because Sony's been very quiet about it. PlayStation VR 2. I mean, we have a whole new piece of hardware here that Sony is currently developing. We had the controllers revealed for PSVR 2 this year, which again, I think some people forgot about, but this is going to be a big thing for Sony in 2022. Assuming that they're targeting a release of holiday 2022 or late 2022, I think it's safe to say that at the soonest, we could see Sony start talking about this at the beginning of this year, but I think at the latest, again, they're targeting a release of this year, we'll see them start to talk about it in the middle of this year, probably around June or July. And so we know that Sony has big plans for PSVR 2. Something that I think is worth mentioning here with PSVR 2 is that there's going to be a focus on console quality AAA games with hybrid gameplay offerings. So it seems that Sony's plan is to try to find a good middle ground where they can develop games for both the PlayStation 5 and the next generation of PSVR, and they can, basically be played on both, and they don't have to worry about spreading themselves too thin, which I think is a problem we kind of saw happen with the first version of PSVR, but also even with the PlayStation Vita. This is something that I think Sony's trying to fix going into 2022 with PSVR 2. But yeah, that's going to be a huge thing. We also know that there is apparently going to be a big service update to PlayStation Plus. Right now it's called, I think, Spartacus. So it's just rumored right now, but it seems like it's, certainly something that's going to happen. Basically, in the first half of 2022, we're going to learn about a new 3-tier system that Sony's going to be offering for PlayStation Plus. There's just going to be the basic offering that they have now. Then there's going to be a second tier, which offers a large catalog of PS4 and eventually PS5 games. And tier 3 is going to be the big tier where it adds everything that I just mentioned, but also access to PS3, PS2, PS1, and PSP games, as well as extended demos. So it's certainly going to be interesting to see how fans respond to this service when it's announced, and to learn of all the details and what Sony plans to do. But I want to end this video by talking about some of the things that I think most PlayStation fans are hoping to see from Sony in terms of announcements and reveals. So the first and most obvious thing, in my opinion, is another state of play. Now, I think it's safe to say we're going to get multiple state of plays, but I'm not really talking about these smaller state of plays, the ones that focus on indie games. There's no doubt we're going to get quite a few of them throughout 2022, but I'm really talking about the big God of War Ragnarok gameplay focused state of play. I'm feeling confident that we will get that within the first 4 to 5 months of 2022. Now, I could be wrong about that, but I think that's a safe assumption, and I think that a lot of people are very eager to see that. We got one of those for Horizon Forbidden West, and it was incredible. We also got one for Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, and now we want to get one for God of War Ragnarok. We could also maybe get one for GT7 at some point as well. Maybe not for GT though, but I think, state of play is going to be something that continues throughout 2022. But something else PlayStation fans want, and I know for a fact that every PlayStation fan wants this. In fact, you don't even have to be a PlayStation fan. You just have to be a gamer. We want Sony to have a big event this year. And I think it's an absolute must that Sony has a big, colossal event this year. I have to, really kind of pump it up here by calling it colossal, because we did get a PlayStation showcase in September of 2021, and it was good. Right? Like, they delivered some big announcements, but it just wasn't the showcase that people wanted. It was basically 10 minutes towards the end of a 40-minute showcase of Sony just kind of firing things off back to back to back, which was great. But we want another, future of gaming type showcase, what we got in 2020 or June of 2020. We want another big, massive showcase from Sony. I don't think it really matters when they do it. If they want to do it in June around E3 time or July, I think that would make the most sense. I think that's the safest bet, but I've seen some people speculating that maybe they'll do it earlier in February or something. I think there's a chance. I think there's a possibility. I think it's less likely, but nonetheless, I do believe that this is something Sony has to do this year. And I think that if you were to have a massive event with some big announcements, right? Really show PlayStation 5 owners, look, we know that this gen has kind of gotten off to a little bit of a slow start with everything going on, and we are, remaining cross-gen longer than we intended to, longer than people were expecting. Now it's time to show you what PlayStation 5 only is going to look like going forward. I think that that's a big thing Sony should try to focus on doing in 2022. And if you take that and combine it with all of the game releases, right, that I just talked about, I mean, 2022 is looking like it could possibly be one of the best years that Sony ever has. I think that it could be one of the best years for PlayStation fans. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, and I don't want to get overly excited, but come on. We can all agree that things were a little bit slower and a little bit more tame, as I said, in 2021. And I think 2022 is the year where things really start to ramp up. But yeah, that's just what I expect from PlayStation in 2022. Obviously, my expectations are pretty high, but based off of everything we know, I think that it's safe to say 2022 will be certainly a much more significant year than what we got with 2021. So leave your thoughts down below and tell me what your expectations are. Tell me what you're most excited about, and tell me what you're most hopeful for throughout the year. I will certainly be interested to see what you have to say. Leave the video a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.